Since the year 750 CE, the Abbasid Caliphate has ruled across the Islamic Ummah from the capital of Baghdad, where it has sent forth many of its armies to conquer enemy lands. These lands were vast and far, but these armies have also been used in the defense of the Caliphate against the Crusaders in the north especially. These armies have also marched south though, and west. Egypt has been under Abbasid control for several hundred years now. It has been a prized jewel of the Caliphate, providing much for the Ummah in terms of economic power. In addition, our armies have marched west very far, as far west as the Maghreb, to the capital in the west of Tunis, where our all-cavalry armies march against our enemies. However, this would not be possible without the heart of Islam, the heart of the Abbasid Caliphate, which is of course the holy city of Mecca. Mecca has united our Ummah for many years now. However, now it is no longer the case. Mecca has become merely a religious center and holds no political power anymore, and is fallen under the thumb of the Ayyubid dynasty in Egypt, descendants of Saladin himself. To the west, we've also lost all control of our lands, as the Hafsid dynasty now controls all of the eastern Maghreb region, leaving little for us in terms of influence. To the north, the Crusader states have now gained a firm foothold in the cities of Antioch, Jerusalem, and more, further diminishing our control in the region. To the east, the Khwarezmian Empire has exploded and annihilated our armies time and time again. The Abbasids have been diminished to merely a minor regional power in Baghdad, but perhaps now is the time for that to change. What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and whatever time it is, and welcome back to a brand new campaign with your man, Immersionholic. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of my Abbasid campaign for the Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD mod for Total War Attila. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally diving into the 1212 AD mod. We are going into the medieval era, and we are attempting to reunite the Islamic Ummah as the Abbasid dynasty. Here is our family tree. We have Caliph Ahmed, who is leading the Abbasid dynasty at this time. He's getting quite old though. He's 54 years old. He is married and has a single son, a single heir to the caliphate. His wife is a bit of a drunkard, so it's not necessarily the best look for the wife, or at least the primary wife of the caliph. His son Muhammad, though, 37 years old, is quite a capable leader and has some experience. So hopefully, once Ahmed passes, Muhammad will be able to lead the Abbasids to a little bit more of an enlightened period. But we'll have to see how that goes. And then Muhammad does have a son who's 20 years old. His son's name is Jafar. Jafar will obviously be the future heir of the Caliphate. But for now, it is Muhammad. And we have our major capital, of course, in the city of Baghdad. It is a massive metropolis at this time. It has a massive population, a large income, and it also houses one of our small armies. This is actually a cavalry-focused army. It's very elite, has some shock cavalry, and it's led by General Jamil, who is under our command. He's not of our dynasty, though. We don't have any other cousins or brothers or anything besides what I've already listed. And then to the southeast, in the city of Basra, which is a very profitable city for us, giving us spices, we have General Muzaffar, who leads our major army, which is mainly all infantry. And then to the west, we have the city of Kufa, which is actually a Shia stronghold, so we might have to try and perhaps tame the populace to not be so willing to revolt, and instead try to guide them back towards Sunni Islam very peacefully and a very appropriate manner. But we do need to reunite the Ummah, and to do so, we all need to be on the same page. So this is the extent of our realm at this point. Despite us only having 3 cities and 2 armies at this point, we actually can see a decent amount of our borders. There isn't too much fog of war. Although to the west, we definitely do need to improve our overall line of sight into the Holy Land, of course. Our diplomacy is pretty straightforward. For now, we have some relatively diplomatic standards with the Ayyubids, even though they kind of have usurped our status as the rulers of basically the defenders of Islam, I should say. We do have a non-aggression pact with them and the Ghurid Sultanate in the east, who are our natural allies against the Khwarezmians to the east, who have taken over our Persian territories. And then we have lots of trade agreements with some minor factions all around us. Basically, all of the Muslim factions around us are willing to trade with us. Even though we have lost the majority of our actual authority as the Abbasids, we are still definitely respected in name at the very least. So that does give us certain benefits, for example, a vast trade network. For this campaign, I am using a research summon that will make research faster, because in the base 1212 AD mod, research times are just ridiculous, and it's still quite long, so we're going to be focusing mainly on just trying to get better units throughout this entire campaign, and we're going to be trying to do that as quick as we can. And we'll begin our actual moves in the campaign by sending our elite cavalry detachment to the west. We need to establish authority over that region. There is basically an abandoned settlement right there. We need to try and beat the Ayyubids to it, so that way we could perhaps use that as a launch pad, or at the very least a checkpoint into the Holy Land to the west, which we of course want to really take over, of course. In the meantime, though, we will be replacing our general here in the east, and we want our son Muhammad to be leading our major army. We want him to be getting as much experience as possible so he can become a better future caliph. And then from there, he'll also be able to lead it as an example for his son Jafar. He will of course eventually take over the caliphate as well, and we will be recruiting some more infantry, although we will have to hold back on that shortly after, as we do need a lot of money to do our colonizations in the west. Continuing though, we have our Caliph Ahmad leading the Abbasid dynasty from Baghdad itself. He will be the direct governor there. He will not be leading any armies. In the meantime though, we will be sending some of our other candidates and other political, not rivals, but political associates to different areas of the caliphate. We have Murad, who will be leading the region of Sawad, and then we'll also be sending Ayub down to Al-Hassa, which is basically the city of Kufa. And so we'll be trying to tame the population there, not necessarily to force them to be Sunni or anything, but we want them to be as peaceful as possible. Trying to keep public order to an appropriate level throughout this entire campaign is going to be a big struggle, and basically on turn 1, Kufa is definitely a city that's already giving us political issues, so we'll be trying to pacify the region for sure over there. The city of Basra will be focusing on increasing our agricultural output. We'll be just building some wheat fields here, as it is a very fertile region, so we'll be getting the most bang for our buck that way. And then in the other cities, in the city of Kufa, we'll be trying to focus on creating a mosque that will be designed to increase Sunni influence in the region, and then thus create more public order and hopefully pacify the region and just get everybody to calm down. If we're going to reunite the Abbasid Caliphate to its greatest extent, we need everybody to, of course, not be rebelling against us. And so to continue our reunification, though, we send our army into the west to take over the former city of Al-Jawf. Al-Jawf is basically nothing right now, and it costs a lot of money to recolonize a region. We need 9,000 gold to do that, so we do eventually pay for it, although we will not be able to recruit as many swordsmen as we like in our main army. But now that we have that city, we can actually start to see the Ayyubid possessions in the Holy Land, and that's going to be very useful for us, as it will help us identify where the Ayyubids are fighting, where they're losing, and where we can take targets of opportunity. But in the meantime, now it is time for us to figure out what our first target will be, and the most obvious target for us is the city of Bakhla under the people of Oman. The people of Oman are hostile to other Muslim factions for some reason, and they have actually most recently declared war on the Sharifate of Mecca itself, so we will of course be going to deal with them very shortly. Although while we're preparing our armies for that, the Fourth Council of the Lateran has convened, and Pope Innocent III is now proclaiming a new crusade to free the Holy Land. We don't know where the new crusade will be coming, but we are definitely on the lookout for it. But like I said, the Malakat of Oman is attacking the Sharifate of Mecca, and of course we cannot stand for anybody attacking our holy city, so we will be declaring war and going down to help the people of Mecca and defend the holy city from the people of Oman. I'm not sure what you would call them, Omanians or Omanis. If anyone knows what the actual plural is for the people of Oman, that would be very helpful. But the Malakat of Oman does control the city of Marib. They have colonized it, so we might have to try and deal with that if the Ayyubids don't deal with it first, as they will declare war on them shortly as well. However, now it is time for heir to the Abbasid Caliphate Muhammad to lead our massive infantry-focused army onto the capital of the Malakat of Oman and take the city of Bahla.
I wish you both.
And not only are we the defenders of Islam, and we will show it here today, but the city of Bahla is actually very important economically speaking. They have a pretty small to medium-sized garrison, but it is a port city, so basically half of the city is protected by the ocean, so that's going to be a big issue for us. But finally, we get in and see the first test of the Abbasid Resolve. Speaking of Abbasid Resolve, here is the heir to the Caliphate Muhammad himself, leading his personal bodyguard of elite heavy bow archers, very excellent cavalry unit, heavily armored. They have skirmishing potential, and they're fantastic shock cavalry. But now, before the battle actually gets fully started, we're going to go over the majority of our units to figure out what our armies will be looking like as we move forward. So here is our Turkish raided infantry. Cavalry, sorry. These guys are basically incredibly lightly armored. They have almost no armor, but they basically will act as scouts, raiders, and support cavalry for our armies. These are the Turkmen Al-Jarida. Then we have the Darya Gulam horse archers. They're basically another unit that's essentially the same as our general's bodyguard. They're a horse archer unit that's very heavily armored, so they'll be super useful for us. But then here is the cream and butter of the Abbasid armies, the Rajila al-Jund infantry, the swordsmen. These guys are a medium tier swordsman. They have some decent armor, decent stats all around, and they will basically be our legionnaires of the Abbasid Caliphate, and they will storm the city itself very soon. Then we have some very lightly armored, basically peasant tier Ramat al-Hada bowmen. Again, forgive me for my pronunciations, as always, you guys know me. My pronunciations are very bad, and my Arabic ones are no good. No disrespect intended, of course. And then we have our Ramaha al-Jund spearmen. These guys are kind of the cream of the crop of the Abbasid army, as well as the swordsmen. And they will work in tandem, and they will both support each other to basically deal with any threats that they have to. But that is our army for now, consisting of lightly armored horse archers that will be as scouting contingents. We then have a core of swordsmen and spearmen supported by lightly armored archers, and then we do have some elite, very heavily armored horse archers that will be used in the background as well. The battle begins with our Turkish cavalry bombarding the enemy infantry in the city and doing a Cantabrian circle to avoid taking too many casualties themselves. They'll be doing this in conjunction with our own archers that will be firing into the city. We don't want to burn the city down though. This city is very powerful in terms of economic potential, so we don't want to destroy it, which is an actual thing in Total War Attila. If you destroy cities while you're attacking them, then you will have to pay for it afterwards. So we don't want to burn the city down necessarily. But our swordsmen will push their ladders and siege equipment forward. We'll have our spearmen follow up in the second rank to support where needed. And here we can see the first glimpses of the enemy garrison. Their swordsmen, militia, are very disorganized, not very well disciplined or equipped. Hopefully we'll be able to make quick work of them. Our swordsmen finally reach the walls and begin climbing up over with the support of our Turkish cavalry and lightly armored archers. And the enemy is not actually at the walls. Instead, they have stepped back and allowed our men to get up. So now they can actually get a charge against us. So our swordsmen right here in the center of our assault will take the most casualties. Although they are very good, they don't have time to form up a wall or a shield wall even, so they will start to take some casualties. Although very quickly, we also send in more swordsmen to help support. So this is where the major clash against the enemy garrison is occurring. The enemy spearmen and cavalry are teaming up together to try and hold back our swordsmen, but now our siege towers are now getting involved and hitting them from their right-hand flank. So we're basically forming a U-shape around the militia themselves, and our archers are continuing to bombard their positions. And we also have our spearmen getting involved in the background. You can see on the right-hand side now that we have the UI turned back on. We're also using some flaming shot to try and make the enemy scared and make them rout off the battlefield, although we'll be trying not to do too much. But now we're at the point where we have so much infantry involved in the main fight that our spearmen will now be sent around the flanks to try and form protective choke points to stop the enemy garrison troops from trying to outflank us. Towards the main gate, we have a swordsman unit that was basically through the gate, but we kind of got Total War Attila here, where even though the gate was open, I couldn't give them a move order to go through. So it's going to be a little bit awkward, but it's not the end of the world. Over here on our left flank, our spearmen receive a charge from the militia macemen. It's not a very good engagement for our men, although our swordsmen behind our spears are now ready to come in and reinforce, as we have basically dealt with the main blob of militiamen that were stopping us earlier. These macemen proved to be quite difficult for our spearmen to hold against, so Muhammad is now leaving his own personal bodyguard into the city and is starting to recharge the enemy infantry, and he will get devastating kills and charges against the enemy infantry. They're absolutely not prepared for such a savage charge. One of the final groups of the militia garrison tries to hold it down towards the lower levels of the city, but by this time their forces have been so depleted that our cavalry charges are more than enough to annihilate them. And then you can see the horde of Abbasid swordsmen and spearmen coming in behind Muhammad himself, and they will take the city with very few losses actually, and the rest of the garrison will surrender en masse, including the captain who was hiding in the citadel. And basically, ladies and gentlemen, we win our first siege very well. The Abbasid dynasty begins its reunification with a complete success. And here are the statistics. If you wish to see them, ladies and gentlemen, there is our first battle of the campaign. This is going to be a shorter video than my typical length, just because I wanted to get this first one out there, and then future episodes will be a little bit longer. But anyway, we have now taken the main capital of the Malakat of Oman. The city of Bahla will prove to be a very useful economic center for us moving forward. And hopefully, though, we can stop the people of Oman from retaking the city itself. But we will peacefully occupy the city. It is a Muslim city, and we are trying to basically prove to be the defenders of Islam. And of course, we cannot go ahead looting and destroying our brothers and sisters of the Ummah. Even though we are a fractured Ummah, we are still united. And so we will take the city peacefully, as long as the people do not put up too much of a fight, of course. But anyway, there we have it. The city of Bahla is now ours. We also have spices coming into that region, and we will have even more resources nearby. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is where we're going to end our first episode for today. So please do make sure you subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of this campaign. We'll of course have more Divided to Impera campaigns coming and on the way very soon, including a head-to-head campaign that will be live streamed, so keep an eye out for that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one.